I want us to go back to the conversation you're having before the break with Jackson Kiplagat, who is the head of conservation programs at Worldwide Fund for Nature, that is WWF Kenya. Jackson, before the break, we were talking about individual capacities, how each of us can, mitigate this climate change agenda. And moving forward, perhaps what would be, as you wind up on that point you were making earlier, moving forward, what are perhaps some of the expectations that we should have from this year's COP26? Could you unmute your mic? We cannot hear you, Jackson.
Sorry.
Yes.
So I was saying, yeah, you can hear me now?
Yes, perfectly.
Great. So I was saying that there are some important actions that we can take as individuals. For example, making choices around energy efficiency, ensuring that when you are buying a fridge, you are buying a fridge that is more efficient. When you are buying a TV, you are buying a TV that is more efficient. And the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority has actually even assigned codes on most of these equipment. The other action that we can take as individuals is reuse, reuse, basically to ensure that the production and consumption processes reduce the amount of emissions that we actually emit to the atmosphere. In terms of our expectations moving forward, especially the outcome of this particular COP, I think it will be great to see the world leaders in countries making commitments on how we can actualize the 100 billion commitment for climate action from Paris. And agree on a very important system of how to be able to track that. The other important factor that we anticipate to come out of this is what the countries will actually pick out of the global agreement to be able to translate into national policy and move beyond that to translate that into the annual national budgets. For example, if we are going to invest more in renewable energy, can we see a budget from the Ministry of Energy that moves more towards investing in sustainable, green and renewable energy than seeing greenhouse gases?
Yeah. Indeed, Jackson, because when you talk about the alternatives, so that means that then, even as you approach the home stretch of this conversation, it means that then we will see innovations coming up. For instance, you've said when you go to buy a fridge, ensure that you buy that one that is friendly instead of using firewood or even charcoal. Use other products or other issues to, or other things to provide energy. Shall we see innovations, more innovations coming up, and what would be their adaptability and reception? Shall countries buy from each other? Shall even as we allocate funding for mitigating climate change, these innovations that come along, shall they be assimilated easily, and will countries buy from their citizens?
Innovation, I think, is very key, and that is why I think even at the national level, we should possibly continue challenging our research and training institutions to be part of the solution of our local challenges. And I see many of our research institutions, for example, being challenged to be able to provide more innovative ways of dealing with some of the local challenges. But more importantly, innovation globally shall remain one of the key avenues of addressing these challenges. And it would be actually good to see how government, private sector can even invest more in local and innovative ways of responding to the climate change challenge. Because I believe homegrown solutions, homegrown innovations will actually be more, customized to our local situation.
Indeed. Jackson Kiplagat, the head of conservation programs at Worldwide Fund for Nature, WWF Kenya. Thank you so much for speaking to us this morning. Great. I've been speaking to Jackson Kiplagat from WWF on matters climate change and COP26 and the expectations, and as you've heard right there, what you can do in your individual capacity to combat climate change and ensure that the world, we attain the 1.5 degrees and ensure that the environment and the seas and everything is not heating up. Away from matters environment and climate change, politicians in the country, including presidential candidates, could soon identify themselves on ballot papers using their